Hey everyone, and welcome back to CJRaceCars YouTube channel. The last time that you guys saw Mullet, we had the headers all tacked together. Well, today Taylor is welding up all the primaries, installing them in the collector, and then going to weld up the collectors. Something I wanted to point out about these headers that are different than your normal header is they're a dual slip style collector. What that means is you can see there's an inner wall and outer wall, and then the collector slides in between those. And that's basically designed for turbo applications to help make sure there's no exhaust leaks in the header and the collector, because turbo cars have a lot of back pressure. So he's going to finalize welding these up, get them welded to the collector, and then install the EGT bungs, and the headers will be finished.
Those look really, really good. Taylor can weld.
Taylor, to be honest with you, between me and you, Taylor is not that good a welder. What it is that Everlast welding machine right there that makes him look like he's a good welder. That's the truth.
They are nice machines.
Speaking of Everlast welders, we have the Everlast welder right here. And the reason we have this here Everlast welder is because, as you know, we're doing our cream puff plus $10,000 cash giveaway right now. And if you buy anything on the website, any merch, if you buy any merch or apparel right now to the end of this week only, we're going to throw this in one random order. So not only do you get an entry for every $5 you spend on CJRaceCars.com, but you may just get an Everlast welder in your order. We're just going to toss it in one random order this week. This is a great welder. It does AC and DC TIG. It also does stick. Comes with a thumb control, a foot pedal, a whole bunch of stuff to get started. And I honestly love these Everlast welders. A few years ago, we started switching them out, and that is the only thing I will use now. They're the best running welder I've ever used personally, and it's the same welders we use in the shop. So go to CJRaceCars.com, buy your merch, buy your apparel, buy anything on there, stickers, koozies, anything. $5 gets you one entry to win cream puff, $10,000, and until the end of this week, this here Everlast welding machine. Something else we want to talk about is the titanium that we have on Moly. We haven't showed you guys a whole lot of that, and we want to show you that. It has pretty much all the same stuff that Eagle has, and with our titanium package, you save about 60 pounds, which might not sound like a ton of weight, but when you're building a car like this, and there's no other place to get weight out, 60 pounds can mean a lot. It's a lot of weight, believe it or not. So, to start with, we got our titanium lower control arms, which are designed with a high angularity bearing on the outside here. And the reason for that is so we can have a lot of travel in the front strut. The older style strut front end cars only had about 3 inches of travel, whereas the cars we build have around 5 inches of travel. We got our titanium tie rods up front, so our front suspension is all titanium. And then we move back here, we have a titanium tunnel, which right now looks like nothing because Danny's over there working on it, which we're going to show you the process of that and why we do it. What that's designed to do basically is to keep the drive shaft and the U-joint and the yoke contained if it were to ever come apart, so that doesn't go in the cletus and hurt them badly, because it would. The back, we have all titanium suspension. That's something that when I started, we pushed hard in and nobody was really doing about 8 years ago. And now we have 400, 500 sets of these things out in the wild, and knock on wood, we've never had an issue. So hopefully that continues. But you can see back here, our titanium four-link bars that go to the rear end, they save you about 6 pounds. Again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're building a car like this, 6 pounds is a lot. Titanium wishbone, which is what holds the rear end in the center of the car, saves you another couple pounds. You can run a titanium wishbone. We actually put one in here at the beginning that was our standard size because it fits our chassis. That didn't have an X in the middle, which is fine for most stuff. But with him gonna do drag and drive, we put an X in the middle just because there's gonna be a lot of turns, a lot of side load on this thing on a normal basis. So we added the X, put a new wishbone in it, got our titanium anti-roll bar links, which keep the suspension planted straight so the rear end can't roll, and it's hooked to our Big Johnson anti-roll bar. So the rear suspension's done. Hooked up to our Mullet rear end. This is actually the rear end for the radial tires, because that'll be the first thing to run in. It'll be on 315s. Front suspension's done. And that means this thing can roll. The only thing holding us up from taking this thing off the jig, really, is mounting the body. And you say, well, you can't use this body. It's true, we're not using this body. But what we are gonna do is we started mounting these quarter panels back here. You can see Danny has all the mounts going to the quarter panels, all the diagonals. So that basically we can take a piece of cardboard or whatever. He can lay out those identical holes in the new quarter panels, and that way when we put the quarter panels up here, it's not just flopping around. We can attach them directly to this chassis mount really quickly. And then we need to take this body off and hope that the roof that we cut off El Cheapo works with the new quarter panels, which it should. It's the same roof. So that's the plan. We got a few more body mounts, and then we're going to be putting a body on Mullet. But for the rest of today, we're going to build a titanium drive shaft enclosure, finalize the headers. We're one step closer to have Mullet finished.
Taylor, do you always have to make micro adjustments whenever you're welding?
I do with this, the positioner, just because the tube's curved, so I just gotta figure out what makes it as comfortable as possible.
So cover up the well and leave. Her gift to someone is free. Imitation of the perfect soul. I shine a light into 1,000 eyes, all watching, waiting.
Taylor's got the passenger side header for Mullet welded up, except for the EGT bungs, which he has 3 of the 4 tacked on. You can see this last one he doesn't have tacked on. We're just kind of going back and forth about exactly where we want to locate it, because we want everything to be uniform, right? But it's also got to function correctly. And this front tube, unlike the rest of them, comes out going up a little bit just for clearance issues so we could get to the spark plug. That's also a big priority when building headers. You want to be able to get the spark plugs easy, because if we didn't, we'd probably have Zach and Cletus and a whole bunch of other people yelling and throwing stuff and giving us a call where they're track the first time. So we don't want that. This last EGT bung, I think that's gonna be good. We kind of want them in line, you know. I think that's good where it's at.
You like it?
Yeah. Okay. And these are billet EGT bungs. So you can buy an EGT bung, and you can weld a little star washer around it, and everything else is kind of a pain. But these here billet EGT bungs are nice.
Yes.
Very nice. We started using these, I don't know, a couple of years ago probably. But I love them. So he's gonna get that EGT bung welded up. Oh, you can see this plate here. I didn't mention this plate right here. He's got this plate. Well, it's not even a plate. It's a piece of billet aluminum that we bolt the header to so that we can weld it on the bench and not have the flange warp, for one, and it pulls heat out of the flange. So this is something if you're gonna build a lot of headers to have, or if you just had a spare head. Even a spare used head would be beneficial. But when you're building a lot of stuff, this is a big block Chevy, so not as bad. But if you're building a Hemi header, it's probably not likely that you're just gonna have a spare Noonan or spare Pro Line
Billet head.
billet head just laying around that you can mock up and toss around on the table. So We have pretty much every bolt pattern in this piece of billet here, so we can bolt up any header we're working on, weld it, back purge it, and build them correctly.
Oh, it is exactly right. Okay. It was 0 low out. It's close. Right now we're ready to do this one. If you can get to it. Long distance welding.
Kevin, why are you shaking?
Oh.
You sit.
If I was out like that,
Do you want to do this?
You want me to?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
I can do it. I would shake.
All right.
Not as bad as you, but I would shake. You don't want me to do it.
oh, if it only worked like that after you got it all welded up.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, now if you wanted to, you get the titanium rod and you can tack this. Closer.
You gonna hold it or what's the deal?
I don't have to hold it, I guess. It's fastened down here where it's going to be. It's in the holes.
Boom. I'll do more later. Let you guys do your thing.
Yeah, not a bad idea. While Danny's doing this drive shaft loop, wanted to do a little quick explanation. There's at least 100 different ways you can do a drive shaft enclosure. The main thing is that this loop here is within 6 inches of the U-joint, right? But the way we do ours is we do a complete 360 in the front, which you'll see here in just a minute. He's getting ready to do that next. You got it here. So that piece,
It's not polished up yet.
that piece will go all the way in the front. This goes here, and then we connect it with some smaller tubes. But
Oh, right about there. But
you could do just one loop, or you could do just 2 loops, and you could connect them straight to the bottom, and you don't have to do this. The reason I particularly like this is this upper tube here. You have, I don't know, what is that, 4, almost 5 feet long, right? And that's a dual frame rail to keep the car more stable from flexing this way in the middle. Now that tube, over that distance, as it tries to flex, I believe it can move like this, right? And if you add this to here, now it's got to try to flex there and here. So you cut that area down a lot. So that's a big stiffening point. Not only a stiffening point, but it mounts the tunnel that much more to where if that yoke came loose or something and you're swinging this drive shaft at 8,000 RPMs and it comes loose, you don't want it to move. So now, instead of just having an open titanium tunnel up here with no loop in the front, because if that came apart, it can kind of open it up like a tin can. We have the piece in the front, the loop in the front, this loop here, and it's really, really contained, because I have seen those U-joints come apart and go through people's roofs, through people's seats, go into their leg. We repaired, Fletcher Cox had a car that went through one and went into Sean's leg, the driver for him, and it was bad. Like his leg was black and blue like that. So there's a reason we do them like this. We've done them a lot of different ways, but probably the last 3 years, I'd say this is how we do them. And that's the reason for it. It structures, it makes the chassis stronger, and it's as safe as we can really make it without getting super carried away. So that's it. We'll let Danny finish it. We'll show you a finished product. Don't we?
you want to have this 90 degrees this way, and this holds everything in position while we're fitting these tabs down here. But once we get those fit, tacked in and all that, then we have to put this piece in. And when you make this notch, it needs to be perpendicular to this. If it is the slightest bit this way or this way, when you weld your tube in the top, it's going to be either high or low over here compared to over here. So the tube will actually be sitting a little like this, and you'll visibly be able to see this tab higher or this tab lower, or vice versa. So you make your notch as 90 as you can get it in a jig we have in the end mill. and then you come over here, put it down inside this jig, tighten it up. Our pins go into what we have already there, which locks that in pretty much so it can't go anywhere. And then you take this and you lay it right in that notch, and you put an angle finder on it. And then you check that versus this versus this. And if you're within a couple of a tenths of a degree, you're fine. Because every time you put the angle finder on, you're liable to change a couple tenths of a degree. You're just not that accurate. But for our doing 2/10, not a big deal. And so you get that till, let's say it is a little bit like this. Well, that means this side's a little low. I can put this back in the jig, and I can take a little off this side of the notch, but none here. And I just play with that until I get this locked into that groove, and it's level. And once that's there, then this tube is we have an idea what it's going to be lengthwise. We make our tabs, and then we cut this tube accordingly to make everything line right up so it touches here, touches here, touches here, and that's all good.
You said somebody sent that in?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's one of his friends, Brian. He sent it in, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "I think it's a beard. Got tape with it, so."
We definitely
Don't look that. It looks natural on me, right?
It looks natural.
It's weird, dude.
Did you see what somebody sent Cameron?
Yeah, is this a beard?
I think so.
I could have just given him mine. It looks just like him, though. This looks just like his.
That is hilarious.
Hey, I'm Cameron. Hi. I well with my feet.
You know what somebody sent in? Did you see it? You got some love here, man. Did you see what somebody sent in for you?
It's pretty fresh there. Is that a beard or a big mustache?
I think it's a beard.
Could it be a
Actually,
mustache?
it's actually pretty.
Could it be a handlebar mustache? Maybe they're saying I need a mustache.
It's actually pretty accurate.
Danny needs this beard and a mullet.
Oh, hell no. Y'all got me wearing a Diane mullet wig. That fits, and that fits. This is the one people said you'd never be able to get it on #1.
So we had some viewers who said that we weren't going to be able to get to number one.
Can't get them. There's that. No, that's not #1 back there. That's.
We just wanted to show
There's
you
that
guys.
one. There's that one. That's the one they said from the angle of the camera shot, it looked like it was right in the way of this tube right here. And then of course it goes on here. No swivel. It doesn't have to be this long, but this 6-inch extension is still really close to the 6-inch. But there you go. Oh, there it goes. And you just pull it out.
Oh my goodness. Don't do that again. That's enough.
So we're looking at pretty much the almost close to completion for the tunnel.
Yeah, this is actually the final part of the fabrication of the tunnel. So now that's out of the car, it makes a little more sense. But this is basically the cage and what mounts to the chassis. These are 2 rolled halves that, when they're finished, will make basically a cone shape inside of this. And that's the final part. Danny's got to cut it. What he's doing now is sticking it in as far as he can. We make a cut down the middle so the seam is straight, so both sides look identical. He'll mark it in the center, add an inch so that we can step an inch, and the top piece will actually go over the bottom piece a little bit. If you just try to butt it together, it would weld terrible and it would probably not look great. So he marks it, he'll add an inch, step it, then he'll put that piece over top of it and mark that piece to where it's stepped. Cut that piece and then weld them together. Taylor will weld them together and tunnel will be done.
And you shove it back inside there and you bang it forward just as far as you can bang it forward to make it nice and tight. And then you just draw a line. This will be in probably a little bit farther. Then you just draw a line around it where you're going to have to make your final cut. That'll be flush. And this will be about the halfway point of this tube, of this loop. So it'll be back here like that, and that'll be where you make your weld. Back here just gets a stitch here and there because it's sticking out the back.
This is 050 thick titanium, and it is strong. And like we said before, that's why we put a loop on the front and a back. That way the front's not just hanging out there and it can tear open. It would really take a lot to tear, you know, a little piece out of there. It would take a lot, especially that titanium's extremely strong, which is why Danny's taking his time to market, because he does not want to have to cut this thing more than once. It is not fun to cut this. And he doesn't want to do it 3 or 4 times to get it right.
I don't want to cut it that many times because it's a pain in the neck.
It is.
It's expensive. Stuff's not cheap.
It's expensive. Thankfully, the good thing is we make these drive shaft enclosure kits in-house, and we got a bunch on the shelf. We still don't want to mess them up. But it does help us save a little bit of time because we have these loops already pre-bent, pre-notched, and ready to go. So he's got the pieces ready. And if you guys need a titanium drive shaft enclosure kit, we do have them on the website, CJRaceCars.com.
Danny, Cameron did mention that these need to be angled. Is there a specific reason for that, or is that just so it cones out when it does set back into view?
We pull a string from, that's where it's going to end up, but it'll be aluminum, 2 halves of aluminum that go from the end of that all the way up to here. And so we pull a string from the top of this tube, from the bottom of this tube, and we pull it up to that round loop that's up here, and that string dictates the flow of the sheet metal. So it's wider in the back and it's narrower in the front. The drive shaft, as the rear end extends, goes down. This doesn't move, but the drive shaft goes down. So you got to have, like your drive shaft, this is back by the rear end housing, your drive shaft is doing this. So that for that thing needs to be wider at the back.
Oh, for the play, for the drive shaft
Drive
here.
shaft goes in here, and it might be sitting like this, and when the car separates, the drive shaft will be down like this. So it's just, that's why we have the strings there, because that way there's 2, we know the points back there that the aluminum piece goes into, and we know up in front, this is 8 inches. We know where that's going to be. Everything just goes according to that string. I need our shearer to load it up a little bit. Get ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready? Go.
Yeah! Danny figured out that he could shear this tunnel in the shear, in the stomp shear, and for some reason, he's not saying exactly why, but he had me stomp on this thing. I'm going to say it's because he's saying I'm...
Somebody has to hold it because it doesn't, there's stuff in the way. So you got to kind of move it around and kind of hold it, and we need somebody out here that's got a little more push behind it than I do.
Unbelievable. Danny's working Sunday this week, he said.
It has nothing to do with weight. It has to do with young and stronger.
Just like that.
That's what I like.
Done.
Looking good so far.
We need 10 or 12 more clamps.
It needs to be just above it. Otherwise it'll be too long and it will not go in.
There it is.
There it is.
You know how much this thing weighs?
Nothing.
How much do you think this thing weighs? It's literally like maybe
1 pound?
a pound. It's crazy how many people have come in here to build cars in the past 8 years, and they say, I don't need titanium. I'm like, here, just hold this. And they hold it and they go, oh, I want all the titanium.
And then when they hear how much it is, they go,
But I still want it. All right, well, we had a very productive week so far on Mullet. We got both headers welded. Danny got the tunnel all fit and ready to be tacked together and final trimmed. And we got a lot more coming on Mullet in the following few weeks. But that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you go to CJRaceCars.com, buy some merch, get entered in the Cream Puff giveaway. And if you order from now until the end of the week, Sunday at midnight, you may even get a welder in your order. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.